Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Jacqueline, and in this video I'm going to show you how I make these little tiny houses, house blocks. Aren't they cute? See? So I'm going to show you how I make these using a die board to cut my fabrics. Now I'm going to be using scraps. Bring you down. I am going to be using a bunch of scraps fabrics just left over from other projects, you know. So what I am going to do is I'm going to cut all these scraps out here using a die board. This is going to cut out my house shapes, and there are 5 shapes to my house, and so I'm going to show you how I use this. Okay, so I went ahead and I pressed out my fabrics, and again these are just a bunch of scraps that left over, and so I went ahead and I ironed one. I pressed them to make sure they're flat, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take like, let's see, I'm going to take like one of these, and then I'm going to put it on my die board, but I am going to cut this scrap down to fit. The pieces are very small, okay? And so I'm going to cut this down to cover, just to cover the shapes on my board. Right. Okay. So I'm going to take my first scrap and I'm going to trim it down to cover these 3 shapes. Now I could do this, but I don't want to waste that much fabric, so I'm going to cut the pieces down. And this is how I do that. So okay, so I'm going to take, let's see, my fabric, and I'm going to turn it this way, and I'm just going to fold this in half. And this is about, it's 2.5, and this is a 3-inch ruler. So I'm going to cut this down to, roughly 2.5. Let's see, yeah, and I need 2 pieces. I'm going to cut one house and show you how I do that, but I need 2 pieces of this shape. 2 of this shape. So I'm just going to put that on there and just rough cut, and I'm going to use the same color for this one, and that's about 1.5. Make it 2, and then just going to lay that there, and then this one it's about 2. So I'm going to do like that. Okay, I need a new blade. Okay, so just gonna cover these up. So I am covering up these 3 shapes. So what I do, I just rough cut the 3 shapes, and I'm going to use the same fabric for all 3 shapes. Okay, and these shapes are going to be the 2 blue and the green, but this time I'm going to make them all the same color. Okay, so and then up here it's going to be the top of the house. That's the top, the white and the pink that you see here. And because these pieces are so close together, I had this board custom made, and these pieces are too close together, so I'm going to have some waste because I can't cut this one without cutting part of these, and I can't cut these 2 without cutting part of that because they're too close together. They should have been like this here, space between them, but they didn't put space between them, so it's going to be, so I'm going to have some waste, but that's why we're using scraps. So let's see, I should make a house, and we'll make the top yellow. Okay, well, I only need one. So okay, and see how it covers the whole shape when I really just need to cover a little bit, but that's kind of hard, so we're just gonna cover the whole thing and just have some waste. But that's why you want to use scrap fabrics to make this project. Just a bunch of scrap fabric. And then let's see, because if I cut it down, you know, it's kind of hard to cut it down because of the rectangle, so we'll just go ahead and do it that way. And then we need some white fabric as well. So here's my white, and this is going to be the roof. And these pieces are, now we'll make them 3. We don't want to cut them too short, okay? And so you can stack 6 layers on this board. Right now we have 2 layers. This is 2 because it's folded. So these are all 2 layers, and I'm just going to make one house block and show you how I use the board. But you can stack up to 6. And so we'll put a white here. Just go like that. Again, we are going to have some waste because they put the shapes too close together. Next time I have a board made, I would request that they spread the pieces out, because if I only wanted to cut just one shape, just this shape, I shouldn't have to waste fabric on these 2. And this is just the board. This doesn't do anything. It's just the board. The shades are the dark areas. So now this is the yellow, and this is going to give us the 2 side pieces, because you can stack up to 6, and this is 2. And then we need a mat. This is a cutting mat designed for the cutting board. Now this shape I don't need. That was a mistake. I put one too many. This is just a rectangle, and I don't need that, but I can use it for something else in other projects. So anyhow, here's our cutting mat. So we're going to put that on there. And I'm going to move all this out the way. I got a lot of stuff on my table. So get everything out the way. Still going? Yes. All right, so let's get all this off the table. And okay, so this is my cutter. This is an Accuquilt cutter, and this is what I'm going to use to run my die through. This is an Accuquilt die, and I'm going to run it through this cutter, which has a hand crank. So what you do is you put your fabric on here, like that, cover your shapes, put this special mat on here, designed for the die board, put that on there, and let's bring this over some. My table is crowded because I have stuff on it. Turn the handle, and it goes through, and it presses down onto the mat, and then the mat presses down onto the fabric and the board, and it cuts out the shapes. Now, get rid of static because the pieces sometimes come off. Okay. Alright. Let's get rid of the scraps. Okay. This is magic, guys. Let's get rid of all this leftover. And that's a scrap there because we only want the white. Our yellow overlap because our pieces are too close. I may have another one of these boards made because I think this board was like, these boards are expensive. I think I paid like $150 for this one board. Okay, so let's take this off. This is our leftover scraps. I'm going to get rid of that. Get rid of all of that. And then I'm going to show you the magic here. And here are our shapes. Well, this one's supposed to be yellow. Okay, here we go. So here are the pieces to our house. This is the top of our house, upside down, but that's going to be the top of the house. And then these are going to be the pieces, okay? It uses two of these, two of those. And so what the house is going to look like is, I'm going to take my pieces off. And I'm going to show you what the house is going to look like. I'm going to go up here. I'm going to put it here. And I'm going to put this here. That's going to be our top. And then we're going to put a piece going across. Oh, we still have to cut, oh, we have to cut the door. I actually cut the door the same color, so I'm going to have to redo that. I cut 4 shapes when I should only cut 3. So that's that. The door, I made it pink, but the door is not going to be pink. I've got one already cut. Hold on. So my door is going to be, this is my door. This is one I already had cut. So lay the pieces on here. I'm going to put them together. Put that there. Move that down. Move that down. Move that down. See, there's your house. Looks just like this one. Just like this one. See? So what I did was I just cut out one house shape using scraps of fabric. I just cut out one of these, okay? But you can stack 6 layers of fabric and cut out 6 houses. But you need 2 of this shape here. So you'll have to run this one down, run this through the machine 2 times. Because you only stack 6, and 3 houses take 6. So what I would do is I would stack maybe 3 layers and get 3 houses. 6 here, yeah. But anyhow, that's how the die board works. So let's go to the sewing machine and I'll show you how I piece together my scrappy tiny house block using scrap fabrics. Let's go. Okay, now we're at the sewing machine. Now we're going to sew together our tiny house block. All right. Put my glasses on. Okay, so we're going to lay out our pieces. All right, we're going to lay out our pieces. Pieces are going to go like this. And we're going to turn on our little iron. We got a little iron, Cricut iron. And then we're going to lay our pieces out like this. Okay. See that? Yep. Okay, so I'm going to take my the roof of my house, and you want to line them up. I line up the bottom because it's a straight edge, and you want to line them up. You should not see any yellow. And yeah, so 1/4 inch seam. And I'm going to sew my door to my side of my house. I'm just going to keep going. It takes less than 5 minutes to sew these tiny houses. You can sew a tiny house block in about 5 minutes at the most. Okay, let's see. Cut that off. This is part of my. And I just finger press this out And I press with my little iron. I have a little iron over here. And when I take the other end, get a line at the end. This is how I do it. Now, I've been quilting for many years, but I am not a professional. My seams do not always line up. Even when I use the Accuquilt system to cut my fabric pieces perfect, I still don't sew perfect. Sometimes my stitching is off. But, okay, so take that off. You know what? I sewed 2 pieces together. So I'm just going to cut this one off. I didn't know there was 2 of them stuck together. So I'm just going to cut that off. I'm not going to unsew it. See what I did? I sewed 2 pieces together. Because they were cut perfect, they were stuck together. So I'm going to take the other side of my house, stick that on there. Okay. I've got the top of my house. Okay, see, here's the top of the house. Okay, now I want to sew this piece, the piece that connects the top of the house and the bottom of the house together. See how they line up perfectly? Okay. Piece of scrap fabric. That's just a piece of scrap. Okay, let me open this up. Okay, and then open up this piece and let's press this. And we're going to take this and sew on here. There we go. We have a house. See? Let me press it real quick. There we go. We got our first house block. Okay, so I am going to cut out some more house blocks. I am going to put together a kit, and I'm going to have this in my Etsy shop. So if you want to purchase a tiny house quilt kit, you can go over to my Etsy shop. I will put the link in the bottom of the video. But I'm going to be selling these in my Etsy shop. I'm not sure if it's going to be 20 houses or 24 or 48. I'm not sure yet, but I'll probably put enough houses in a kit to make maybe a wall hanging. But you know, I'm going to finish cutting out my tiny scrap pieces for my house, and then I'm going to put that into my Etsy shop probably by tomorrow. And if you want to purchase a kit, go over to my Etsy shop, Precut fabric shop on Etsy, and you can get you a kit and you can make some tiny houses. If you like this video, please subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys. Take care.